All right, we want to welcome everybody today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Dr. Washington. I'm your host today on this live town hall meeting, and we've got a very, very special guest. I'm not going to belabor the point at all. I'm going to bring him on in just a second. His name is David Glenn Williams. He is running for judge, you guys, judge of the 75th District down in Liberty County. And so, once again, with no further delay, I'm going to go ahead and bring him on right now, so we can kind of just get right into it. There he is. There we go. Glenn, how you doing today?
Doing great. How are you doing today?
Man, I am phenomenal. It's great to have you on. Thanks for coming on. I know you're doing some great things down there in Liberty County, making things happen. So do me a favor, like just tell everybody just a little bit about yourself, you know, where you come from and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I guess I came from a little oil field town or community, Hull and Dayzetta in East Liberty County, and move off, went to college, ended up in law school, and got homesick. There was no really place that I ever found myself that felt quite like home, and so I moved back here then in 2014 and opened up a small practice here, and criminal defense is really the area that I belong in law. And so we focused on that, built a really nice practice, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
Good deal. So you're on the criminal defense side. Wonderful. So, we've had this conversation amongst my peers around judges and how they become judges. So
Right.
Usually it's through one way or another from an attorney perspective, either the prosecution side or the defense side. Talk to us a little bit about the benefit of you coming up from a defense perspective.
Well, I guess from the defense perspective, from our view, I think it gives you an opportunity to experience what a defendant goes through, because we presume that our defendants are innocent. That's kind of the way the system works, and that's not a presumption that the prosecutors traditionally have. They're more or less, they believe that the investigation that implicates the person is accurate. So, I think we're more in tune with what a defendant may go through. But also in my practice, I do focus a lot on restitution to a victim. If there is a victim, I want to make sure I make them whole, because that helps everyone. It mitigates the potential consequence to my client, but it's the right thing to do.
Right.
So I think we have a broader perspective on, what more so than a prosecutor would. I think it has an advantage to me coming from the defense to the bench.
I like that, from the defense to the bench. Guys, not only is he an attorney and hopefully a judge in a minute, he's also a rapper. It's all good. Now, for those that are watching, you can also ask questions. So send those questions in. There's a couple of questions that we do have for you, Glenn. Number one, just real quick, why do you want to be a judge?
Well, in truth, that's not kind of the way this started. I had approached a couple other very talented attorneys in Liberty and asked if they would, didn't really ask, told them that it was their turn, that they needed to step up and run, and they both looked at me like I was crazy. So it wasn't exactly my first plan, but this bench is important to all of the attorneys here. It's certainly important to the residents of this county, and so it's important to me. And I didn't want to spend the next 20 years practicing in front, because I think that's what I've got left. I'm 54 now, so I say the next 20 years, practicing in front of a judge that didn't take the position as seriously as I do. It's very important. Once a person takes the bench in this county, they generally don't leave. I mean, it's very difficult to unseat an incumbent in this county. So you have to be very careful who you put in a position like that, and you have to really trust. You have to trust that they're going to handle it responsibly and ethically, and that they're going to maintain the neutrality that is essential to the position. Also, that they're going to demand excellence of the people around them. It's because it's so easy to fall into that trap of thinking, well, I'm here, There's really nothing that anybody can do as long as I don't have a scandal. I'm going to have this job until I decide to retire. That's a very dangerous way of thinking. And I always tell people, I'm never going to retire because I have to work to be happy. It's just call it a character flaw potentially. It's caused some marital discord in the past, I assure you. But in order for me to be happy and honestly to continue to survive, I'll live as long as I work. When I stop working, I'm done for. And so there's no cruise for me. I stay wound up. This is what I do. This is what I love. I love to work. And so you don't have to worry about where I'm at or what I'm doing. I assure you, I got my hands on something. I'm fixing something.
Good deal. So more of a calling and sense of duty.
It is. And the thing too is I see from what I do, I'm able to help my clients and I'm able to help a lot of victims. As a judge, I can help everybody that comes before the court, whether that's a just result or whether that's restitution, whether that's 99 years in prison. I mean, I can help a lot more people as a judge than I can as an attorney.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're getting some comments from the audience. I guess you must be pretty popular down there in Liberty County. I'm gonna see if we can pull up some. Here's from Nikki. Vote for Glenn Williams. He's passionate, respectful, responsible, and fair. And I will tell you, like those are the qualifications you definitely want to have in a judge. You definitely want to make sure. Keep those comments coming. Keep those questions coming. We have another question here. So what does this mean to you? So like, let's just say you go through this process, you do win.
Right.
We've done some research on you as well. And so you seem like a really good candidate. We definitely want to have you. And we always like to talk to our folks. But definitely, you definitely fit the mustard. But what does it mean to you to win this?
Well, it does mean the death of my practice that I've worked really hard to build. So I don't take it lightly. I'm losing my practice. There's nobody here to take this over from me. Everything I've worked to build here is gone in that regard. Excuse me. But on the positive side, what it means is that I get the opportunity to help more people. I mean, that's it. When you get into law, they tell you in law school, they say, if you're getting into this for money, you get into it for the wrong reason. And I struggle to understand why anybody would go to law school and put themselves through that kind of torture and accumulate that level of debt and student loan if it were not for the money. Well, I learned, that the money is respectable, but it's not what keeps you going at full speed. It has to be something else. And what I found is that I genuinely have a desire to help people. That is the greatest satisfaction of my life is to help, to make a difference, to do something to benefit others around me. Because for whatever reason, I think I'm just blessed. It gives me a great deal of satisfaction. It really is the fuel behind what I do and who I am. And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, this position it touches so many lives. I have such an opportunity, to affect so many lives, and I do that in from the position of a person that wants to make a difference, that wants to have a positive outcome. If there's any way, and sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes not everyone leaves the court happy, and some people leave in chains. Some of them spend the rest of their lives in prison. But sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes it's it's not something that you want. And in fact, I've heard it said that a good judge is probably going to disagree personally with approximately half, if not more, of the professional decisions that they have to make. So it's not about making yourself happy. It's about the justice. It's about doing what your job is, even if you disagree with it. So sometimes it's unfortunate, but I think most of the cases that come through the court, there's a way for a positive outcome.
Yeah. And believe it or not, sometimes prison is a positive outcome. You know, I've done a lot of prison ministry
Mm.
and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours in prisons. I was always able to leave when I felt like it, which is
Right.
good.
That's the best part.
Yeah, oh, yeah, the door locking behind you, something else.
I did. And
Um,
I worked in a prison for 4 years, and it was the first time I came in, the door closed. You feel very vulnerable.
yeah,
You do. That's an experience everybody remembers, no
yeah,
matter why
you
you're
don't
there.
you don't forget that door closing. It's
No,
real when
it
that's
is.
happening.
It's real,
And
and it's everything in there is big and loud. It is
yeah,
an experience. But I've had
um,
some guys that have come out of it. One young man went, and he's one of the reasons that I'm actually decided to do this. But he spent some time in as a young man and came out an incredible person. I mean,
yeah,
a rock solid Christian, converted
mhm,
person. He is, and I don't think it's what they call it, jailhouse Jesus. I didn't get the
yeah,
impression.
yeah,
No, this kid, and I've seen it. We've all seen it.
yeah,
And they walk out the jail. They toss that Bible in the back seat of the car, and they never look back. This
yeah.
kid here's living it. He's living it. He is a changed man. And
There are so many people that I've talked to in prison that they will tell me that, hey, no, this actually saved my life.
yeah,
I was going off the rails and I needed something to rein me in.
right.
Man, it's lighting up over here. Let
Uh-oh.
me get one of these comments on. We've got Ashley Young saying, "Vote for Glenn Williams." Man, you've got fans down there. Vote for Glenn Williams. He's very fair and stays busy on the job, like you were saying earlier. Stays busy on the job. That is a blessing. Man, we've got a couple here. Let me see. All right, let me see if we can fit all this. Nikki, watching Glenn Williams as an attorney, and he treats all of his clients the same if they are paying or if they are court appointed. Let me just pause for a moment.
Right.
Man, for those that have been involved in the system and you've had to get a court appointed attorney,
Right.
you know how big this is.
It is.
Because we've dealt with people that, I mean, they never even met their court-appointed attorney. Let me just be honest. Like until the day of, they never even spoke to him, and
Right.
even then, you could tell like he did not care at all about the gig. And so, when you find somebody is doing great as a court-appointed attorney, that means the world. I have never heard Glenn say it's just a court-appointed case. I
Right.
believe when Glenn becomes the 75th District Court judge, the offenders will actually have the chance for rehabilitation. And that is, man, that is incredible. That's saying something right there. Like you got some fans down there, man. People like you.
Yeah.
That's
I tell you, when I came back to Liberty County, that's exactly how I built my business. Was we came in, we started taking those court-appointed cases, and as I said earlier, you can't look at the money. You
right.
have a job, you have a responsibility. So, the court-appointed cases, admittedly, they don't pay great. I mean, they're not, you're not going to get rich taking court appointments. But what you
No.
will, what you will do is you will earn a reputation for working hard and doing your job well, and caring about people. So it's not like as I said, it's nice to get paid. Don't get me wrong. Everybody loves those big retainers, but I'll tell you, you work hard for everyone. And another thing I heard in law school, and I tell all the rookies this, they say, take care of your clients and everything else will take care of itself.
Wow.
And that's a fact. And a client is a client. And we have, it is what it is. You take them as you find them, and you treat them, you give them your best, and you treat them with respect, and you give them the presumption of innocence. I don't want to hear, what the story is. I just want to know what the facts are. Let me investigate the facts. Let me look at the case, see what we got in front of us. And, if it requires work, you do the work. You don't say, well, it's a court-appointed case, and I'm not getting paid for this or that, or I'm not getting paid enough. So that's honestly, that's how I built my retained practice, is by, treating all of those cases the same.
Wow.
And that's what I expect. I mean, if when you look around, and we've got a lot of good court-appointed attorneys here, but I do know they tend to get overwhelmed sometimes with the number of cases, and some of these are very serious cases. But as a judge, you do what you can do to make it easy on the attorneys to get things done as quickly as possible. Because I know a lot of times they're dealing with a load of cases. You can be overwhelmed with the number of court-appointed cases sometimes, but you want the quality representation to not suffer. So yeah, judges are oftentimes will say, if you need extra time to gather this evidence, or if you need a little extra time to make sure this case is properly taken care of, most of our judges have been very understanding of that.
Good deal. I do want to remind everybody, hey, if you're watching this live, make sure to share it with somebody else. Share it on your Facebook page. We want all of Liberty County watching so that they can make comments, so you can ask questions. Feel free to ask questions. We want to get your questions up here. We do have a question. I do want to remind everybody, this is Mr. David Glenn Williams running for the 75th District Court there in Liberty County. We do have a question for you. And I'm sure you've heard this question before, but what qualifies you? What qualifies you for this job?
Good question. Other than the obvious, I think what qualifies me more so than the folks that are running against me is that it's the thoroughness with which I prepare for the types of cases that are in this courtroom. I've heard a lot of people going back and forth about, it handles a lot of civil, and it does, but the civil cases, Judge Hinch takes care of a lot of those, Judge Chambers takes care of a lot of those, so that the district courts are freed up to handle the cases that are costing the taxpayers the most money, and the ones that can more drastically impact the people of our county, whether it be a victim or whether it be an accused. So in preparing for these cases, you delve deeper into the law and the procedure of it, because you're looking for any little nuance that you might be able to use to your client's advantage. And in doing that, you learn the tricks. You learn, what prosecutor's going to do. You learn what a defense attorney is going to do. And, also you recognize, where they're going in the trial. It just the ability to anticipate before the jury's aware, and sometimes before the other attorney's aware, where a case may be going, is an advantage. And to my history of intense preparation for these hearings and trials, it's important because I'm fortunately retained. I've got the extra time and the extra money to spend preparing more intensely, and it is probably over preparation to a certain degree, but with my other opponents, a couple of them, they've been primarily civil, which is, it certainly doesn't disqualify them, but, I've had civil in my background, but, criminal is where I focus. And that's really where this court, where the majority of the judges' blood and sweat and tears are going to go. Of course, there's another one of my opponents that has some criminal experience, but it's basically all from court-appointed cases. And as I said, I worked hard enough to where my time has been consumed with retained cases. And, I did so in a very short amount of time relative to my other opponent that has the criminal experience. She's been here for 22 years and is still, I'm just throwing a guess out here. I would say an overwhelming majority of the criminal cases that she handles are court appointments. Now, the thing that concerns me about that is we got the similar talent. You would expect similar results if similar effort was being put into these cases. If you continue to look at these cases as court appointments rather than looking at them as defendants that deserve representation, good representation, zealous representation, then you find yourself not ascending to these, a more specialized practice that focuses on in this area of the law. So, I think the qualifications, other than just what you can say on paper, is just the passion that I approach it with. I genuinely do enjoy this area of the law. There's not another. If they told me tomorrow I couldn't practice criminal law, or if I couldn't be involved in criminal law, I'd go sell insurance or, vacuum cleaners. I don't know. I wouldn't be in law. This is the area that I love, and it's the only area that to me, I'm just really passionate about it. So that's important. That's something that you won't see on a page of qualifications, but I think that we all understand. You've seen people on the job that have a passion for what they do, and truly are motivated to get out there and put the extra work in. And that's a qualification that I think is a virtue in any position. But imagine having a judge that is passionate about, a fair trial, that is a true fan of trials, that watches trials, that's a spectator, that just enjoys the experience. I love nothing better than seeing a couple of experienced, prepared attorneys tee it up and go against each other for all they're worth. And whether it's 2 30-year veterans or whether it's 2 rookies going at it, as long as they're prepared and they came with the intent to put on their best case, I'm bringing the popcorn.
All right. I've got go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's just it. I think it's just something that I find very interesting, and that's, a lot of attorneys hate trial. Yeah, they'd rather take a beating than go to trial. Me, I love a good trial. I love being in it. I love watching them. I love reading about them. I love seeing them.
That was one of the fascinating things that I learned about attorneys. I didn't realize that there were attorneys that, even though they technically go to court, there are attorneys that don't go to trial, that hate trial, they're scared of trial, and in some cases have never even been to trial, even though they're going to court. I didn't know that existed.
That's true. Hey, I'll tell you this, there is no lonelier feeling in this world than to get the sense that your attorney's afraid to go to trial.
Yeah, well,
and oh boy.
I wish I didn't have to learn it that way, but I learned it, unfortunately. Speaking of people, we have a clip from you. We acquired a clip, and I want you to just kind of comment on this clip as you're talking about people in the court. I like this. I had never heard this before from anybody, so we grabbed it.
All the time that our system's broken. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. The issue really is the people within the system. Mm-hmm. I have a great deal of respect for our system, and I feel like the performance of the people in our system determine the outcome.
All right, so here it is. You're saying that, hey, a lot of people talk about the system being broken. You're saying that the system itself is not broken. It's the people in the system. Can you talk just for a few moments about that?
Sure. So the way it's just like a law office. You can walk into a law office and people are going through the motions, and there's no real tempo. There's no real excitement, and that's not a fun place to work. But to me, government work, it's easy to fall into that trap. You want to be excited about what you're doing. You want to have a certain amount of passion for what you're doing, but it's hard to do that if the leader of the department doesn't feel that way. Enthusiasm is infectious. Momentum and intensity, that's infectious. Being a leader, you need to be able to bring that, and everybody should be excited to put on a trial. Everyone from the bailiff to the jury to the, probably not the defendant, probably not.
Sometimes you're looking for your day in court. Like you just want to say, I want to tell my story. Like this is what's going on. So sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Right. Very true. But
we've got a bunch. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, but please go ahead.
We've got a bunch of comments here. I want to make sure that we get to them. We've got Nikki Varner saying he's always working for the community. We got Ashley, vote for Glenn Williams. He's very fair and he stays busy on the job. We've got Shane, vote for Glenn. Man, these people love you down there. Let me see. Here's another one from Melissa. Melissa Wallace, Glenn Williams is honest, ethical, and hardworking. He is in his office working every single day. I can attest to that. It's where we found him, is in his office. Right. And many times weekends too. It actually, I think it was a weekend. The law is his life's work. He mentioned that. He doesn't have his finger in multiple businesses and isn't out golfing, fishing, hunting, coaching, or playing ball Glenn
No.
Williams has the most experience in criminal court than any other candidate. He is the wise choice. Melissa, thank you for that very thoughtful message. We got so many. Let's see. Oh, Nikki broke it down. She said, yes, prison does save lives. We've got Daniel. Vote for Glenn. And he says, why? Here we go. Glenn's honesty and integrity is unmatched. Earlier you had mentioned something, Nikki, double down on it. A client is a client.
Right.
We got Shane saying, I've never met an attorney like him. You know what? Let me pause for just a moment. One of the reasons that we wanted you on the show today, and we wanted to, I personally wanted to host this particular town hall, was, when I met you, we sit down and had a conversation. We try not to waste time with people that, aren't, that we don't feel up to the job. I'll just say it like that. And there are people who have the qualifications for a particular job. And then there are people who are made for the job, or in some situations, the job is really made for them. When we sat down and talked to Glenn, I kind of felt the same way. It's like, man, I have not met an attorney like him. We had a conversation in some situations like, man, I wish I had you for a particular situation, because
Right.
I just haven't seen it, man. I just haven't seen it. And so Shane, I'm personally kind of backing that sentiment. Never met an attorney like him. Down to earth, personable, humble, fully committed. He gives 125% every single time. And it shows both in his work ethic and how he treats people. Well, Nikki is on fire over here. Let me get to Nikki real quick. She said Glenn Williams is qualified. You have a fan. You have a super fan down here. Nikki is like, he's qualified because he has legal experience. He's always been approachable, honest, represents well. He focuses on the law and not on forcing plea deals. Amen. Oh, I have seen lawyers make backroom deals without talking to their client. I know it's not supposed to happen. I've seen it happen. I can go on and on. I see it online on a regular basis. Vote for Glenn. Let me see. Okay. We have an interesting question from Jason. Okay. What's your favorite court movie or show? A court show or movie?
Oh boy, I'm gonna probably get in trouble for this one. The one that To Kill a Mockingbird, it was, of course, that's on everybody's list. 12 Angry Men. 12 Angry Men. Have you never seen that one?
I haven't seen that.
Men. But the one I'm gonna get in trouble for, and it's called Liar, Liar.
Liar, Liar.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
I have seen that. Is that what they is it the guy
Jim Carrey? Oh, I feel that. What do
you like about that?
It's the part that there's so many parts of that movie that I can relate to, but there's a part where he's sitting outside the courtroom and he's leaned against the like a pillar or something. He's leaned against something, sitting on the ground, and his phone goes off in his jacket pocket, in his breast pocket, and he grabs it like, he thought he was having a heart attack. Is what I took from it. You get to that. So you get so geared up. Of course, I cut off the judge. He starts stabbing himself with the phone. I love that one. There's just so many parts of that movie that as an attorney you can relate to, and it's fun to quote too. It's fun to quote that movie, and I just get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Shane said the restroom scene. Is that the
Oh yes. Oh yeah, absolutely.
the restroom scene?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that shows true desperation, and I think every attorney's been there at least once. If you actually thought you could get a continuance and get out of the hearing, I think there are a number of occasions where I would have done that.
Yeah.
If I thought it was possible. But the interesting part though, honestly, is the premise that you cannot function as an attorney without lying is absolutely ridiculous, because I know the myth is actually couldn't be further from the truth, at least in the criminal side, is that it would be very difficult to function as an effective attorney if in fact you did lie. So, which is, it makes the movie even more funny, yeah, I just that movie's a lot of fun. It is.
Just a clarification real quick. Nikki said, I meant to say I seen it on a regular basis, not online on a regular basis in real life. So that's good. Here's something that we kind of just talked about. Here's Richard Pegues saying, I met Glenn in December and followed his campaign and believe he was meant to be a judge. Listen to him. He cares about people. He loves the law. He loves the community, etc., etc. I don't think there's a better endorsement than that. Here we go. John Davila says, good man. All right, let's get back to some of these other questions we have here. Now, here's a question. Now, in everything, like we always talk about what to and we have a show and we say, okay, what do we do good? What do we do bad? We want to keep doing, we want to do differently. What do we not want to do ever again? And so looking at that model, what do you think that you would like to continue doing in the court that you feel like over the past decades that you've been there, you feel like this thing works? We want to make sure this continues. What would you say on that?
Oh boy, that's very difficult because I feel like a lot of things that go on in our courtrooms go on because they've gone on for so long. One of the lessons I learned, well, not too long ago actually, was that question everything. There are things that we do that are, I think everyone knows, are outdated, that would need to be rethought and re-examined. But
well, then, Glenn, why don't we do this? Why don't we pivot to the next question? What would you do differently? Let's talk more about that.
Yeah, I definitely can help you there. So I've got 5 things actually. Number 1 is that I feel like we're not doing enough to acknowledge this idea that folks that have a drug addiction truly have an addiction, and we're expecting them to perform on probation, to perfection. We're saying, hey, regardless of whether you have an addiction or not, you're going to stop consuming that substance today when you do your plea, and you're going to continue to abstain for sometimes up to 10 years, right? And we say, go to therapy, go to treatment, go to recovery, if you need to. But the reality is that it's very difficult for addicts to do. So there is a program called a drug court that allows the court to be more involved and more directly involved, in fact, in the progress of a person's journey through supervision. And so it affords just a more realistic expectations. So when a person slips up and tests positive, you can say, hey, look, what do we need to do? Do you need to be back in therapy? Do we need to lock this person up for 30 days so that they can clean up? How bad did they fall off the wagon? If they just burn off somewhere and we don't see them for 2 or 3 months and they come back, obviously they're going to need to spend some time drying out. You can do that. If they simply make a mistake and use, obviously, in that instance, we want to talk to the, therapist, figure out what's the most appropriate thing to do. But at any rate, we just want to treat addiction with our eyes open, rather than to pretend that it's not, a real thing. Secondly, and similarly with mental health, the state doesn't really provide us with a lot, and we have a good share of folks that struggle with mental health in this county. Now, obviously, the ones that are unable to, even with medication, to conform their conduct to not hurt other people, we have no choice but to separate them. But of the ones that can be treated and function to a reasonable degree with supervision, that's exactly what we need to do. We have mental health caseloads with probation, and Not only with mental health caseload, but also with the addicts. We have churches in our community that would be glad to help out and help folks. We have so many generous people, so many great churches in our community, and I don't think they're being utilized to the extent that they're willing to help. Now we have people that have with our churches have experience with addiction, that have recovered, that can offer amazing advice and amazing support. And likewise, there are people in our church communities that have experience with mental health. And so, we'd like to take advantage of that if it's at all possible. And then beyond that, I'd like to see, for some transparency, I'd like the people to be able to see the business of the court. If they're interested to see a regular old call docket where people come in and we call roll and they say, "We're here, Judge, we're ready, we're not ready." If they want to see that, that's great. If they want to see a suppression hearing, wonderful. Trials would be my first thought, would be the most interesting thing. We have some really good trials that I think folks would really enjoy seeing the real thing. And there's
just to clarify, you're talking about like the layperson being able to physically see the trial, like court TV type thing.
Correct. And certainly they're always welcome to walk in. It's an open tribunal. However, most folks don't have the time to do that. And also, not every aspect of trial is exciting to everyone. Usually a good, juicy cross-examination. The prosecutor's got, the officer on the bench, on the stand, or maybe the defense attorney's got the officer on the stand, and or maybe the defendant takes the stand and the prosecutor gets a chance to cross-examine. Those are a lot of fun. Sometimes the voir dire can be entertaining. Usually a good impassioned closing statement is fun to watch. But, there are aspects of the trial that are not so interesting. So it gives them a chance to tune into what they want to see, when they're able to see it, and, from the comfort of their own home. So I think that would be a lot of fun for them. It would be informative. It would certainly be something that would keep the court on their toes, keep everyone on their toes. I think I love having people watch, to come into the courtroom to watch me. To me, it just adds another layer that I just really enjoy. And if nobody's watching, I still have fun. But man, when you've got spectators there that are just watching your moves and everything you're doing, it's great. It's like when you're playing football, if there was nobody in the stands, you'd still have fun. But it's fun having out there watching you. So I think not only is it fun, it's also a way for our prosecutors to get a little notoriety. It's sometimes they just need to have a little glory too. And then also our defense counsel. I mean, think about it. As a defense counsel, what better way to showcase your skills? What better way to market your practice than to be on live stream where people can see your work and see the hard work that you put into it? I think it's a wonderful thing. Then I think another aspect that I wanted to take a look at is I think that I've seen too many people, too many youngsters that are being convicted of felonies for victimless crimes. Whether they received bad advice or whether they simply made a bad decision. A judge can refuse to accept a plea bargain under the the right circumstances if they don't feel like it's the right thing to do. I just have a hard time for victimless crime understanding how a young man can walk away or a young woman can walk away with a felony. How does that serve our community? And I know I was an adult, but I was not a man just because I magically turned 18. I was certainly not a finished product, and I hope I'm still not. But there's no magic number where a person matures to the point where they can make responsible decisions. And we need to, again, we need to keep both eyes open. We need to acknowledge that some mature later than others, but we don't want to cut their life to hamstring them in a way that is impossible to recover from. I don't know personally any person that I know of that has ever gotten a pardon from the governor. I suspect it's probably very expensive, and I suspect you'd have to have a pretty good inroad with the governor to get a pardon. So I think we need to be careful handing out these convictions for victimless crimes. If the only person they're hurting is themselves, then we need to put them under supervision, do what we can do to help them. If it doesn't work, hey, that's okay. We did the right thing. 20 years later, they can come back and say, hey, man, the court did all that was possible for me They tried everything. It was just me. I couldn't accept the help. I couldn't step forward and do what I needed to do. I've got no regrets. I mean, or got no gripes rather.
Yeah.
Um,
And I tell you, I just really hadn't heard that from a judge. In working with the prison system, most of my work was in juvenile,
Right.
under 18. So, places like Gainesville, prisons like that, where they keep the kids basically. And
Right.
we saw children that were locked up doing hard time for possession of weed, you
Right.
know, like 13, 14 years old doing hard time. And so, man, that really could have benefited them. We do have a couple of other statements. Nikki does agree with you and said on point, we need a drug court. Josh has a question around polygraphs.
Judge.
Let's see this. Do you agree with polygraphs? Reason I ask because Judge Kane has ordered like 307 over the past 5 years, and it
Right.
costs 650, roughly 200 grand, and you pay in cash. Something doesn't sound right. What do you say to that?
Ooh, that's a good question. I know on a lot of supervisions that Judge Kane does require polygraphs, and I understand why. That now it can be a great tool, and in situations where a person is looking at the only offer being prison, I know in my practice I'll say, hey, just keep my guy out of prison. What conditions can we put on there? I mean, I don't care. Put a monitor on. Do whatever you got to do. Just keep my guy out of prison. In that case, hey, I'll take a polygraph, no problem. If that keeps you out of prison, I jump on that polygraph. Now, forcing it on a person saying, hey, that's not something that really happens. But I know that Judge Kane does present it as an opportunity for a person, and I think that is a wonderful avenue. He's never forced anybody that I'm aware of to take polygraphs. Now,
Okay.
he's always got the discretion, as does every judge, to say, I just don't trust this person on supervision. So you can say, well, I'm not going to do a polygraph. Judge can say, well, I'm not going to do probation. So there's a give and take. Now, I know in my practice, I do keep a very good polygrapher on my speed dial, and we use him anytime there's a real question, anytime that we can mitigate something, or potentially for a grand jury situation where a grand jury would enjoy seeing a polygraph result. I love to use them, and I do think with a proper professional that they can be very reliable. Although they're not admissible in court, certainly, but they can be very reliable and very helpful.
Okay. So you're saying use it as a tool and an option for a client, but not forcing it on. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, no, definitely not. And of course, the defendant always has the option to, if a polygraph is required, so a defendant can certainly say, well, I'm not interested in doing any type of supervision where polygraphs are required. So it's discretionary. It's discretionary for the court, optional, of course, for the defendant.
Okay. Good
Good
answer.
question. Good question.
Thanks, thanks, Josh. That's a good question. Keep those questions coming. For those that, just to reiterate this, we are here with David Glenn Williams. He is running for the 75th District Court Judge. So if you're watching this and you're in Liberty County, please send it to all your friends and family. Send it to everybody there in Liberty County. Glenn is running to be your judge. So this is the chance for you to ask questions, make comments. A lot of times we don't have that type of access to be able to talk to a judge or even a judge candidate like this. And so if that's the case, this is your chance. We have a lot of things here. So Richard, he says accountability with compassion. That is, I think he summed it all up. Richard summed it, accountability with compassion.
Right.
That should have been like your tag.
I know. I'm just sitting here thinking the same thing. That's
write that one down.
That's something that I think that all judges would aspire to. I mean, your citizens should only fear the consequences of their actions, not the judge.
Yeah. We've got another one here. Let's see if we can get this on screen. Melissa says, when Glenn first returned to Liberty County to establish his law office several years ago, I met him in the courthouse while I was there for a client. Glenn was very approachable and down to earth. That's something that I'm hearing time and time again. And we had the same. Just for those watching, that was really the same thing we had. Glenn was very approachable, very down to earth, which is why we have him here and why I wanted to host this on today. He said, there is nothing arrogant about Glenn. Shortly thereafter, I retired Liberty County judge, whom I greatly respect, asked me if I had met Glenn. I told him I certainly had. He went into elaborate how impressed he was with him. That's a big deal. I've known him for about 10 years now and referred many clients to him. That is a big deal there. That is wonderful. Thank you so much, Melissa. All right, we have Nikki. Now that's heart, mental health, and drug addiction is in much need of help. I did want to comment on that because, you know, I've never heard a judge like really just speak on that, like that aspect of how can we help people with mental health issues? How can we help people that have addiction issues? We've seen a lot of judges kind of do the opposite and just like literally almost legislate it out. It's like there's only two places for them, either prison or the street. And to say we want to have something compassionate, it's just something I haven't heard a judge say. I just haven't had it said. Okay, we do have another question. Jason. Jason has a question here. Let me see if I can get this on the screen. Here's a lot. Okay, hopefully it shows all up. I like to see courtrooms always offer the opposing side the opportunity to make a statement, regardless of the ruling or outcome. Even if charges are dropped, I feel it's the least we can do. Allow everyone to be heard and not just hushed and rushed out the door to move on down the docket. In many cases, a lot of questions and comments are made to everyone, but the one person they should be talking to. I'm sorry. So a lot of questions and comments are made to everyone, but the one person that they should be talking to. Many cases can be resolved with just a simple conversation. Ain't that the truth? What do you say about that?
Oh, I do. I understand exactly where he's coming from. And I think that you never want a person to walk out of the courtroom feeling as though they have not been heard. You know, and that is very important. That's a very, very rough feeling. And I've seen that happen. And you would just want to be heard. That's your hope, is that if you can just get your story before the finder of fact. You know, if you lose, at least you got to tell your story. You know, and that's very important, because people need to feel like their voice is heard in court. And you hate to see that situation. A lot of times, you know, in civil law, it's very unusual to have that. But you know, criminal law, a lot of times the defendant doesn't take the stand, and that's very frustrating for them. You know, especially if they don't prevail in the way that they expect to. Is that, you know, they have regrets. Hey, I should have taken the stand, and you know, things could have been better. You know, although a lot of times they're not. You know, I've seen folks get on the stand and have it backfire. But I do think that when possible, you feel better. It's like you know, getting to see the evidence against you. You hear that a lot. A person will go through their case and they won't be able to view the video. You know, they won't be able to view the evidence against them because they just don't get that opportunity with their attorney. And that's something that I never set well with me. So I like to sit down with folks, and, you know, I do have people that tell me, hey, I don't want to see it. I don't, you know, please, especially with DWIs, man, I don't want to see that. But most folks would like to see the evidence. And so likewise in court, they want to be heard. So yeah, I understand that completely. I mean, I agree. That would be ideal.
And we have another comment. This is from Josh Whitmire. Yes, mental health. You're the first politician I've ever heard mention that. I second that statement there, Josh. That hits home, as myself have been through some very dark times, and normally if a man mentions mental health, it's used against him. Josh, that is a really good point. So So you might not even want to bring it up because like, oh, they're going to use it against me. And here
Right.
is Glenn Williams saying, hey man, we want to have some special things for you and help
Right.
you go through that. So that is that's amazing. That is amazing. Melissa also came back, said vote for Glenn. Nikki saying transparency is a big plus. Nosy people will be able to share truth. Okay.
Right.
Also, y'all, we have about 15 minutes left, so make sure to share this with other people and ask these questions. Thank y'all for these coming through. Nikki again says, say it louder for the people in the back. Say it louder for the people in the back room. We have Valerie saying, thank you for responding the way you did in regards to Judge Kane ordering the polygraph test. I was getting curious about the number of the tests ordered, but you made it very clear. Thanks. So once again, thanks for clearing that up. Appreciate that. We had another polygraph. Polygraph have to be agreed on both sides anyway. Okay, good point. We have Melissa saying Glenn cares about the people. All right. There we go. Here we go. Oh, I like this statement from Valerie. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Oh,
Right.
nothing changes if I'm Valerie. I'm stealing that. I'm just letting you know. Is it stealing if you tell them you take? So, from an attorney, from the law perspective, if I tell you if I'm taking it, so
I'm sure she'd be glad to share. Right.
nothing changes if nothing changes. That I'm going to use that. And the 75th needs a big change. Let's go, Glenn. That is amazing. Let me see. Richard is, why haven't you littered the highways and byways with political signs and mailbox and mailers? Okay, we don't want to litter.
Hey, I was just speaking today about that. I was thinking to myself, I need to get online and post to say, hey, have y'all gotten any text from me? Have you gotten any flyers from me? You're welcome. I cannot stand it. The texting, the phone, I don't like it. Get rid of it. Those flyers become more of a burden than they are anything else. I mean, I'm very aware of who's running. I don't need somebody to send a card to my house. So I just didn't want to do that to folks. And also, the signs get to be a bit much sometimes. Around Liberty, a lot of folks know me, so I took mercy. The poor folks of Cleveland and Tarkington, on the other hand, I've pretty well, they're pretty sick of my signs, I'm sure. But I definitely need to get some more over there in Dayton, though. I had forgotten about the folks in Dayton, but I see this.
Tell you what, we'll if you're watching this now and you do want a sign in your yard, I'm sure Glenn will get you one. So you can comment there. I'm sure he can figure out a way to get you one his team. And
Absolutely.
So here's another one. Josh says, and first time I've seen your live, Mr. Wash. Thank you very much. You're very well spoken, as well as Mr. Glenn. Nice vibes. Keep it going.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest with you. So we pretty much only deal with people that we feel are worthy of airtime. And when I say worthy of airtime, everybody's the same in God's eyes. But not everybody has the same set of qualifications for a particular job. It's just not. If somebody wanted to hire me as a mechanic, I'm not qualified to do that. I can walk into the interview. I may be able to talk a good game, but I'm telling you, I am not the guy that you want changing your oil or your motor or even putting air in your tires. That's not me. Right. And so, unfortunately, we do talk to a lot of politicians, and it becomes very apparent who's up for the job and who's not. And these days, it really falls into three different categories. Either you do find someone who has the right background, who has the passion, and they are qualified to do what they do, and that's great. And those are the people that we talk to. We run into a lot, unfortunately, a lot of what I call empty suits. They are people who they have no qualifications, they have nothing. All they have a great look, and they've promised a lot of people a lot of things. And because they're an empty suit, I hate to put it to you like this, but they have accepted certain endorsements and have promised certain things to people, but there's no substance to these individuals, and they fall apart very quickly. the moment that you say, why do you want to do this? Or what are your plans for this position? It falls apart. They just talk about who they're endorsed by. We don't talk to those people. And
We
then,
we have
yeah,
one here.
not saying any names, but yes, you have a couple. Anyway, so and the other one is kind of disheartening for us, because it is people that do have the passion for whatever it is. They may have the passion to become mayor, passion to be a city council. They have the passion for it, but they have none of the skills. They have none of the qualifications. Is usually someone who has just gone through something traumatic. Maybe their family has gone through something, and they feel like they want to get into public service, which is great. But some jobs, like judge, requires, or should require, that you do more than just win an election or just have passion. You need to bring some skill and ability to the game. You need to bring a resume. And so for those that have the resume and have the passion and are put really kind of made for the job, those are the people that we like to talk to give the airtime to. And you definitely fit the bill. All right, let's see. We have, I want to say this is Kayla Kirkham. If I'm mispronouncing your name, Miss Lewis, I apologize. But she says, he has my vote, VOTE. I'm telling you, you've got some fans down there in Liberty County. Okay. All right. We got time for just a couple more. Let's see. Josh is saying, well, you know how to listen and when to go to questions. The best I've seen in the political world. You're talking about me. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And Glenn, hitting on mental health was a home run, and definitely something that needs a huge push. And we figure out how to help those that are scared to ask for help. And man, I'm here to tell you that we've talked to a lot of people. Anna came right on with. Anna says, "Hey, he has my vote too." I see. And let me tell you, if I don't say this often, I try to remain kind of neutral. But if I lived in Liberty County, you would definitely have my vote as well. That hands down. This has been an awesome conversation. You have gone through these questions so phenomenally. You have passion. You have, I think, the knowledge. You have the background. You have the resume. Prayerfully, you'll be able to get these votes as well. Seems like you have a fan club down there in Liberty County. People love you.
They've been good to me. This community has been very good to me. They have.
Well, it looks like you've been good to them too. So I tell you what, I'll give you the final word. We're just about out of here. Once again, this is Glenn Williams running for 75th District Judge. I'll give you the last word.
Well, I really appreciate this opportunity. This has been a very fantastic format, and you are an incredible interviewer. I have to say, you're very good, very smooth. I like that. You've got a calling as a talk show host, if nothing else. It's very nice, very well done. I'm telling you, I'm jealous. But no, it's been a pleasure doing this, and I'd like to do it again. I really appreciate all the questions and the comments, the encouragement. And the next couple of weeks are going to be pretty intense, but I'm going to try to keep up as many engagements as I can. I'm still doing my coffees in the morning. I go around different spots, Shade Grocery. We go to Cannon's Country Kitchen. See the Constable Precinct 2 on Tuesday mornings. I'd like to go to Hardin Grocery or sometimes Macy Feed. So I'm just trying to catch folks around in the mornings. Go catch some coffee. If anybody wants to join, you're more than welcome to. And also, I'm always open for lunch or coffee anytime. So if anybody wants to have a further conversation with me a little more in depth, I'm open to that as well. But I appreciate all the support dearly. It's been wonderful. This has been a very stressful, but enjoyable and intense campaign. But I have thoroughly enjoyed meeting all these people, all the new people, especially the folks I met in Cleveland and Tarkington have been so good to me. Yeah, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. They are just wonderful people, and I will never be a stranger in that area of the county again. So again, I just thank everybody for the opportunity, the support, and all the well wishes.
All right, good deal. I'm just going to bring up a couple more of these comments. I like to get to everybody we can. Nikki's like, justice is best served when the courtroom um, becomes the place where cycles end. Oh, that
That's
is
good.
so
That's good.
good. Richard said, great job interviewing. And our last comment today is from Nikki. Thank you so much. Vote for Glenn Williams. You know, I'm here to tell you, for all those people out in Liberty County, your primary, this is a primary, correct? This is a primary.
Correct.
So your primary begins, early voting begins February 17th. So go out, find your voting area, wherever it is. Early voting is always the best. There's no line. You can go in and out. It's our civic duty to be able to do so. And guys, I'm gonna tell you, this happens all over the country. In these types of races, usually only about 5 to 6% of the voting population comes out. I would ask that y'all break that for Liberty County. Get out there, get your friends out there. We can talk a lot of stuff. We can have a great time talking about it, but it's the vote that actually counts, and your vote does count. If you got 3 or 4 people in your house, bring everybody, bring your neighbors down, have a vote party. If you may have across the street neighbor that may not even be able to get down to the polls, grab them, put them in your car. Don't kidnap them. You know, get their full cooperation prior to, but bring them on down. Make a party out of it. Go grab some pizza afterwards. But voting is very important. March 3rd is the actual election. I believe there are 4 people in this race. Is that correct, Glenn?
That's correct.
Now, let me just say very, very quickly why it's important for you to go vote. If you believe in Glenn, if you believe that he is the man for the job, you voting early is going to be paramount. You bringing friends out to vote is going to be paramount. Here's why. Because there are 4 people running, and you need to be able to have a decisive vote. Are you in a race that requires 50% or more to avoid a runoff?
Yes.
Okay. Guys, he has to get more than 50%. Otherwise, we have to do this again. Literally, you have to go and vote again. So he's going to need at least 50% of the vote. And that sometimes is difficult to do when you're splitting those votes 4 ways. So get out there, get a decisive win for Mr. Glenn Williams. He is a phenomenal guy. We've met him. We've talked with him. We believe in him. Once again, I can't vote for him because I'm not in Liberty County. But if I was, you would definitely have my vote. I'm encouraging everybody listening to this. Send it to your friends. Let them listen to this. I know there's been some other interviews, but hopefully you've got a chance to really get some background from Mr. Glenn Williams today. You heard his heart. You heard people that are supporting him. You heard his fan club talk. He's got a fan club down there. You see everybody saying the same thing. Very approachable, very knowledgeable, and has been extremely good as a defense attorney. So I encourage you to get out there. Once again, February 17th is early voting. Get out there and early vote. Thank you so much for joining me. Once again, this is Dr. Washington here with David Glenn Williams, running for the 75th District Court there in Liberty County. David, thank you for your time today. We'd love to have you back whenever you want to come. You are welcome right here. And thank you for allowing me to be able to host this town hall tonight.
Thank you. Man.